Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. Forbes. Iran says tall white space aliens control America. This is an article from 2014. And when Iran says that, they're not talking about aliens in the traditional sense, the way that you picture them in your mind. They are talking about aliens that look like human beings. And I'll show you that in just a minute. We are going to go over this, and maybe some of you remember this. This always stuck in my mind. I was like, what? So we're going to go over this. The Jerusalem Post, U.S. run by, I'm going to avoid certain words just to not get in trouble. I'm going to say Nesquik for this word right here. U.S. run by Nesquik, by Nesquik Space Alien. Okay. U.S. run by Nesquik Space Aliens, Iran claims. Jerusalem Post. Former Israeli space security chief says aliens exist, humanity not ready. This is from the year 2020. Now Israel is saying, or at least somebody from Israel that was up in a position of prestige and power and authority is saying that we're in contact with aliens. NBC News, former Israeli space security chief says extraterrestrials exist and Trump knows about it. Times of Israel, Israeli space chief says aliens may well exist, but they haven't met humans. News Nation, 3 witnesses unveiled for UFO hearing next week. This came out, I believe, today. Yep, today. Representative Burchett and Oversight Committee members on upcoming hearing on UAP. That's the new term for UFOs. He said something incredibly interesting, I thought, and I'm going to read part of the transcript from him during this press brief. A mysterious radio signal from space is repeating every 18 minutes and 18 seconds. We've already covered this. This was from last year. But now, today, a mysterious light has been blinking in space every 21 minutes for 35 years. And we may or may not get to this, but why is Putin calling the Ukrainian government a bunch of Nesquiks? Okay, so this is going to be a pretty loaded video, and I want to approach it from an LDS point of view. Frankly, I would say there's probably very few people that know what's actually going on, what this is all about, right? There's a few prevailing opinions about what this could be. So I'd say worldwide, those that believe that it is happening, they would say, oh, well, these are extraterrestrials, or they're people from another dimension, or they're time travelers, or any number of explanations. Within the Christian community, and you'll find this in other Christian channels outside of our church, most of them believe that it's demons. All right. We've talked about a few possibilities here on this channel because looking at it from an LDS point of view, we have some unique beliefs within our church that you don't find within the rest of Christianity. So my best guess is that it's some type of deception by Satan. That he's not going to be going into the millennium, and so he's got to cause as much damage as possible for those of us that will be proceeding to the next step, the millennium, and to cast doubt on who Christ is when he physically shows up, and get this idea into people's minds that, oh, this is just an alien and he's pretending to be Jesus Christ, and so that you'll receive him better, or something to that effect. Okay, it's not going to be just members of the church that go into the millennium. We've covered that many times. Number 2, maybe it is, and this kind of goes along with number 1, but it could be separate. It could be Satan and his followers. We don't know a whole lot about how they operate, what they're able to do. We do have stories of times when they show up. Do they ever have any sort of appearance in the sky? I don't know. Satan is called the prince of the air in the scriptures. It's unclear how much physical power and assets they have here on Earth. We know that they have human agents. We also learn from the scriptures that they're able to possess people and inhabit their bodies. So if they're able to do that, and if the veil's not over their minds, if they have knowledge from before, if they have advanced knowledge in science and technology, who knows? Maybe they are doing things with the real, actual people. Maybe they've had to wait for society to catch up to a certain point before there was until there was the infrastructure to be able to produce some of these things, some of these crafts. I don't know. Another possibility, number three, angels. Could it be people from the city of Enoch? Could it be just simply how resurrected beings get around? Maybe they appear in this kind of way when they're coming to Earth. Maybe not. I think a lot of people assume that they just kind of like blink in and out as they appear, and that could be. Um, but maybe there's some other uh, aspect to it that requires vessels of some sort. The fourth possibility, maybe it is other worlds. We know that our Heavenly Father has created other worlds. Maybe as we approach the millennium, maybe they're allowed to start coming. And I'm going to show you why I think that is a possibility. And then the last option, which I don't think is likely at all, but I'm still going to put it on here because I can't say for sure. There is a theory out there that the 10 lost tribes have left Earth, that they advanced in technology, they left Earth, and then they're going to come back. Something that I don't subscribe to at all, but I'm not going to say that it's impossible. It just doesn't look that way based on my own study of the 10 lost tribes and statements from general authorities, apostles, and prophets from Joseph Smith all the way till present. So, a few of these we share with the Christian world and possibly other religions. Other ones, maybe not so much. So before we get into these articles, let's take a look at a few things when it comes to our church and our beliefs in regards to, um, extraterrestrials, angels, visitations, so on and so forth. Before we do that, here's the update on the hashtag Flood the Earth challenge. I put hashtag flood right here. You see this? If you report the Book of Mormon, like that you've shared a Book of Mormon, please include this in your message, whether it's a comment on a video or whether you send an email. If you send an email, include it in the subject title. That's going to be the best way for me to find it and to be able to update those numbers onto the spreadsheet. So right now we're at 6,161 copies of the Book of Mormon that have been shared. So it's still going up. We have one new person that joined the challenge. So now we're at 619. So keep it up, everybody. Okay, first we better start with this, right? This is one of the facsimiles in the Book of Revelation, or the Book of Abraham. And it is loaded with what's been revealed, just with what's been revealed, loaded with very interesting, very peculiar information. So let's take a look at a few things here. Figure number 2. That's this one up here. Okay. So this is like the first one represents Kolob, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Kolob signifying the first creation nearest to the celestial or the residence of God. So at the center, you have Kolob. Okay. The first creation. So not the presence of God specifically. It is Kolob, the first creation, right here. Now we're looking at the one above it with the two heads, one looking forward, one looking back. Okay, figure 2 stands next to Kolob, called by the Egyptians Oliblish, which is the next grand governing creation near to the celestial or the place where God resides, holding the key of power, also pertaining to other planets, as revealed from God to Abraham as he offered sacrifice upon an altar which he had built unto the Lord. this key of power, I can only assume that this is referring to a priesthood key, although it doesn't really spell it out. Um, it just kind of ambiguously says holding the key of power, also pertaining to other planets. So you have Kolob, the nearest to God, and this one up here, Olibleesh, has a key of power over other planets, or pertaining to other planets. That's how it's worded. Okay, so we have two other planets so far that we know of. In the hierarchy of planets, these two are at the top, Kolob being at the top, and this one second, it would seem. Figure 5. Okay, what's figure 5? Figure 5 is on the other side of Kolob on the bottom, and it's this ox thing being driven with a whip by this person. By this person. Okay, so number 5, what is that? It is called in Egyptian Enish Go Ondosh. This is one of the governing planets also. Oh, so now we have a third one. And is said by the Egyptians to be the sun. Oh, okay, so this is the sun. Sorry, I did a video about this looking at the language here, and we've recognized the Hebrew. We've also, recognized the Egyptian. I did a video about this before, but I don't remember everything. Okay, and is said by the Egyptians to be the sun and to borrow its light from Kolob through the medium of Kai e Vanrash, which is the grand key, or in other words, the governing power, which governs 15 other fixed planets or stars. Okay, so you have this idea that planets from other solar systems or other stars are basically in some way overseeing us, or they're in charge, whether that be in a physical sense or whether it just means in a spiritual sense when it comes to like the priesthood. Don't really know, but I think that we have to consider the physical sense where maybe they do have some sort of um, overseeing responsibilities over our world. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just reading what it says here for Facsimile too. And then, let's see, this planet receives its power through the medium of Kliflos Is, or Ha Kokau Biam. This is the Hebrew. It just means the stars. Kokau or Kokau, I can't remember how it is, but Kokau is, or Kokab. Kokab is star, and then Im, that's the plural, and then Ha is the, so it's like the stars. The stars represented by numbers 22 and 23 receiving light from the revolutions of Kolob. So now we have a couple more, in this case, stars. So let's go here. You have this one over here. You have this one on this side. So our sun, which is referred to as a planet, and by the way, we've looked at what Brigham Young said about the sun, and we've read statements about from both him and Joseph Fielding Smith how the Earth is going to become like the sun, and I think it's literally going to. And I don't think that we understand space the way as much as we think we do, despite all of our observations and our science, which I think is probably great and as good as they can do. But I think there is much, much more fundamental things that we do not understand when it comes to these worlds, these heavenly bodies, including the earth upon which we stand. But I'm not going to repeat all that here. Okay, and then later at the end it says, the above translation is given as far as we have any right to give at the present time. So we're given a little bit of information. We're basically given to know that there's an order to all these different worlds and stars, that some seem to have authority over others, it would seem. Probably the best guess would be, again, in a spiritual sense, with priesthood keys, but it very well may be that they have an oversight or overwatching, like a babysitting, basically babysitting our world. That's basically what I'm saying. Okay, let's go to Moses 1, verses 33 to 35, and then 37 to 39. And worlds without number have I created, and I also created them for mine own purposes, or mine own purpose. And by the Son I created them, which is mine only begotten. And the first man of all men have I called Adam, which is many. But only an account of this earth and the inhabitants thereof give I unto you. For behold, there are many worlds that have passed away by the word of my power, and there are many now that now stand, and innumerable are they unto man. But all things are numbered unto me, for they are mine, and I know them. And then later, verse 37, and the Lord God spake unto Moses, saying, the heavens, they are many, and they cannot be numbered unto man, but they are numbered unto me, for they are mine. And as one earth shall pass away, and the heavens thereof, even so shall another come. And there is no end to my works, neither to my words. For behold, this is my work and my glory, to bring to pass the immortality and eternal life of man. And I would think that in this sense, he's not just referring to people, like when he's saying man, he's not just referring to people on earth, but all of this species, all of the sons and daughters of God, we're all the same species, even if we're from different worlds. And that's a pretty, revolutionary idea outside of our church. But this is what we have revealed to us. We're not the only world. And there's countless other worlds. And there are worlds, Earths like this one, as well as stars that have power of some sort over other ones, and governance. And there's a hierarchy of sorts. Okay, now I want to talk about visitors. And there's one section of the Doctrine and Covenants in particular that I want to look at. Okay, this is section 129. Instructions given by Joseph Smith the prophet at Nauvoo, Illinois, February 9th, 1843, making known 3 grand keys by which the correct nature of ministering angels and spirits may be distinguished. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, Satan can appear. It seems that he can literally appear to where you see him with your eyes. And if he's able to do that to the leaders of the world, he could convince them that he's an alien. If you're a world leader, no matter how bad you are, of course, some would probably be perfectly fine making a literal deal with the devil, but others maybe not so much. Maybe it's easier to appear to somebody and say, well, I'm from another star system. I'm an alien, right? So as we're about to read these articles, is this some of what we're seeing? Is Satan appearing to people, claiming to be an alien, wanting to push forward the alien idea so that we doubt Christ when he comes? Because if you're Satan, okay, being devil's advocate here, literally, um, if you're a Satan and you're just trying to mess up this whole process from beginning to end, you would probably focus in on the most important events. And we know that happened with Joseph Smith when he went to go pray. Uh, I guess Satan knew who he was. Maybe he was watching him closely and he's like, oh, it's about to happen. I need to go stop this. And then he tried to stop him from praying to try and prevent the first vision, right? So one of the biggest events is the second coming. And it's an important one for him because he's going to be bound for 1,000 years. The people that remain, those that are living a terrestrial law or higher, are much less influenced by Satan. And we've read quotes saying that that's why he's bound. He's not like bound with spiritual cords. He's not cast to some place. It's just that there's not going to be anybody around that really yields to his influence. Okay, so that's kind of a problem if you're Satan. And it'd probably make you really mad. And so, you probably would want to come up with some plan to be like, okay, well, how can I mess this up as much as possible for when Christ comes? Oh, I know. I'll try and make everyone believe that he's an alien. That's a pretty good plan. That's why it makes a lot of sense to me why just all of a sudden, as all these things are just going crazy in the world, uh, maybe him and the powers that be, his human agents, realize that the time's coming soon, and this is like one of the final cards. Anyway, back to section 129. There are two kinds of beings in heaven, namely angels, who are resurrected personages who have bodies of flesh and bones. For instance, Jesus said, "Handle me and see, for a spirit hath not flesh and bones as ye see me have." Secondly, the spirits of just men made perfect, they who are not resurrected, but inherit the same glory. So people that are just waiting to be resurrected. When a messenger comes saying he has a message from God, offer him your hand and request him to shake hands with you. If he be an angel, he will do so, and you will feel his hand. If he be the spirit of a just man, so the first one, if it's a resurrected being, yeah, he'll do it. If he be the spirit of a just man made perfect, he will come in his glory, for that is the only way he can appear. Ask him to shake hands with you, but he will not move, because it is contrary to the order of heaven for a just man to deceive. But he will still deliver his message. If it be the devil, as an angel of light, when you ask him to shake hands, he will offer you his hand, and you will not feel anything. You may therefore detect him. These are three grand keys whereby you may know whether any administration is from God. So I wonder how many of these world leaders have encountered Satan or his followers and offered to shake hands, thinking that they're aliens or transdimensional beings or something like that. And then Satan's like, "Well, you're not gonna. I would shake hands with you, but I can't. I'm phased out at the moment. I'm phasing into this reality, and some stupid thing like that, or well, where I come from, we define life differently. Although we look similar, you cannot shake hands with." I don't know. And then the dummy uh, human, probably a narcissist, and probably really happy because this is like a very special thing that other people haven't experienced. And so it's like, oh yeah, I believe everything you say. Okay, cool. And then they don't question anything. So let me just read a few things from here from the student manual. The prophet Joseph Smith taught, quote, "An angel of God never has wings. Some will say that they have seen a spirit, that he offered them his hand, but they did not touch it. This is a lie. First, it is contrary to the plan of God. A spirit cannot come but in glory. An angel has flesh and bones. We see not their glory. The devil may appear as an angel of light. Ask God to reveal it. If it be the devil, he will flee from you." That's how you know if you're being basically influenced by the devil. You pray. You receive like some idea, a dream or whatever that doesn't seem right. Well, you're probably right in doubting it, and then go the step further and pray about it. He will flee from you. If of God, he will manifest himself or make it manifest. We may come to Jesus and ask him. He will know all about it. That's from History of the Church, Volume 3, page 392. Okay. Whatever their state and condition, angels are messengers of God. There are angels of various appointments and stations, wrote President Charles W. Penrose. He was in the first presidency. Quote, "Angels are God's messengers, whether used in that capacity as unembodied spirits, selected according to their capacities for the work required, or as disembodied spirits, or as translated men, or as resurrected beings." So there's all different types, okay? It depends on what stage of mortality they're in and stuff like that. They are agents of deity of different degrees of intelligence, power, and authority under the direction of higher dignitaries and subject to law and order in their respective spheres. Elijah, who appeared with Moses on the Mount of Transfiguration, was a translated man. Moses at that time was either a translated man or a spirit ministering to the Savior, but both acted in the capacity of angels. Enoch's band of translated beings doubtless appeared as angels in manifestations to the patriarchs recorded in the book of Genesis. All right. And for all I know, maybe this affects your mode of transportation. You know, we're told, and I need to look into this further, but we're told that the reason why the Holy Ghost is still a spirit is because in that state you have the ability to go inside people. That sounds really bad, but he has the power to like touch your heart. Whereas I'm not sure if that's the case. Like if you have a body, you would think that well you wouldn't lose that ability. If anything, you should increase in abilities. But if any of you know more about that, feel free to put it in the comments or send me quotes. Maybe I'll do a video about it in the future. But if we take that concept, maybe the fact is that if you have a body, um, maybe you do need some kind of craft or some kind of vehicle of some sort to transport you around. Maybe not. I don't know. But I'll tell you this: both Lorenzo Snow, when he saw the Savior in the Salt Lake Temple, and Joseph Smith, when he saw the Savior in the Kirtland Temple, he appeared on some kind of golden um, workmanship under his feet. Don't know what that was. Have no idea. Is it just for decoration? Could be. I doubt it. I know it's getting like that gets like really weird, but you have to like think about those things. So that may be an explanation potentially for UAPs or UFOs. Maybe that's not really what it is. Maybe that it's not aliens from another place. Maybe it is though. Angels in authority have been clothed in special occasions with the right to represent deity personally. They have appeared and have been recognized as God Himself, just as royal ambassadors of earthly potentates have acted as recorded in history. The angel spoken of in Exodus 23:20 through 22 was one of these. All right. That's probably all that we need to. That's probably all we need to say for right now. Okay, so one last thing that I want to bring up before we get into the articles is a very interesting thing that Sherry Dew said recently. This was at BYU Women's Conference, and the name of the talk, or the title of the talk, is Celestial Training in a Telestial World. Okay, so think about this. Now, a few words about prophets. I declare without reservation that the most important words being spoken on the earth today are those from prophets, seers, and revelators. Some of their words are to worldwide congregations and others to an audience of one or two, but their words always have power. During a recent meeting with President Nelson, I had a chance to scan an extensive document that lists the dignitaries with whom he has met since becoming president of the church. It was an impressive list of ambassadors, religious leaders, and more. I asked the president how many on the list he had invited to come, and he said, quote, "None of them. Each of these individuals requested an audience with the first presidency at church headquarters," end quote. So obviously, well, to me, I feel like it's obvious that there's some kind of influence here. That because I can't say that this is something that's happened in the past. I haven't heard of any stories like this. I have noted on the channel that President Nelson, it seems more so than other prophets before him, has been meeting with a lot more world leaders, religious leaders, so on and so forth. In fact, Elder Rasband said as much in one of his talks that I've already covered, where yeah, he makes note of how much President Nelson is engaging with all these different people. And he said, like, whereas before, you just hear the prophet at general conference, and just not like a ton. Um, now, think about this possibility. There's a few different things that could be going on here. You have to remember that when Christ comes, it's not just like some magical thing where all of a sudden there's just like a perfect, you know, everything just goes perfectly, everybody falls in line. Um, they will, in a sense, they won't be able to fight against him, but there are practical aspects, it would seem, to his power being implemented in a political sense. The reason why I say that is because at the time of Joseph Smith, there was a council of 50 in which they were planning how to implement or how to prepare for the political kingdom of God. They were working on a constitution. They made the flag of the kingdom of God. Okay. So it would make sense to me that there'd be some kind of transition. I know that some of you expect the entire world to be completely obliterated, everything to be just like all buildings destroyed, nothing survives, like it's just going to be a completely new world. I'm not so sure that that's the case. I think there's going to be a lot of changes on the surface of the earth with the oceans. Surely there's going to be destruction and stuff, but I think it's not going to be as destructive as some would make it out to be. And I would think that, when we think about the Constitution, we know that that was revealed, that was an inspired document. And I think that it's not just for the earth, for the church to come back in the last days, which was one of its primary purposes, to create a nation in which there would be uh, religious freedom, in that the true church could be restored. Yes, but I think that it's prepared the way for the political kingdom of God, because, like I just said, Joseph Smith and the Council of 50 were preparing a constitution for the millennium, and so there's going to be a lot of people left over from different religions, different nations of the world. Um, Politically, things are going to be different in the millennium, but you're still going to have civic leaders. And so it would make sense to me that maybe some of them, even as early as right now, are receiving inspiration to strengthen ties with the church, or to get to know the church, to get to know the first presidency and the Quorum of the 12. And for all anybody knows, what if you have people, whether it be from the city of Enoch or whether it be people from um, these other worlds over here, what if they're meeting with them? What if during the millennium, what if we at that point, we actually have contact with these other worlds because now we're more righteous and we're at the same level? Maybe the rule that we don't know about. Maybe the rule is that you can't have contact with other worlds when you're a telestial world, or a world in a telestial condition. But once you've reached millennium stage, maybe you can have more contact. And before anyone puts the quote, I know what Joseph Fielding Smith said about how he doubted that we would ever have contact with other worlds because it would rob people of their agency. Because if you were to go to another world and be like, oh, they have Christ there, so this must be the true religion. Well, that may be true, and I take his word for it, and that may be true for the telestial time of these 6,000 years. But when the world moves into its terrestrial phase, and I'm not talking about a glory, it's not a glory yet, it's in a terrestrial condition, but it will be a paradisiacal world. Well, at that point, Christ himself will actually be here. So if you're somebody, say that you're somebody that's not a member of the church, and Christ comes and you think that he's an alien, and then there's contact with other um, worlds at that point, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, they think that he's Jesus Christ too, but I still just think he's an alien. I don't know if there would still be that, um, like, that test wouldn't necessarily be an issue anymore. Do you get what I'm saying? Because Christ himself is actually here now. And so you wouldn't be surprised, like, oh, yeah, well, you're doing the same thing over on those worlds too. You're tricking everybody, or something like that. Okay. So we have to wonder why all of a sudden all these people are meeting with President Nelson. Could they be having visitations from people from other worlds? getting ready to become incorporated with the greater community of other worlds. Maybe that's allowed. Maybe that's something that you can't have until you reach the millennium. You know, who knows? Maybe it could be anybody. All right, let's get into these articles. Forbes. Iran says tall white space aliens control America. Documents leaked by NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden conclusively prove that the United States has been ruled by a race of tall white space aliens who also assisted the rise of Nesquik Germany in the 1930s. These revelations about our alien overlords might, of course, the article's taking a sarcastic tone. These revelations about our alien overlords might not cost you any sleep, but the part that should concern you is a tad, is that the UFO story was just published by the Fars news agency, the English language news service of Iran, a nation that may be very close to acquiring nuclear weapons. This is back in 2014. Here we are in 2023. Almost 10 years later, no, they still don't have them. Later on, it says the alleged alien invasion was revealed in an alleged report by Russia's FSB spy agency, which found, quote unquote, incontrovertible proof, okay, that an alien slash extraterrestrial intelligence agenda is driving U.S. domestic and international policy. It has been doing so since at least 1945, end quote, says the Iranian news source. So at this point, let's entertain the idea that they're not crazy. Could it, I don't know. Could it be that Satan and his followers having so much control over the world, possibly actually appearing as aliens, quote unquote, to people, and organizing secret combinations, uh, whatever, handing over knowledge, technology, whatever. You know, maybe that's what's going on. Is that so hard to believe? I don't know. The world or the United States sure has gotten worse since 1945. Slowly, it kind of picked up starting in the 60s. But before that point, I don't know. I think America was a lot more wholesome. There's always like issues, there's always been wicked men, but I'm not so sure it's been so widespread. So I don't know. Later, Snowden, who has been given asylum in Russia, leaked documents that a race of extraterrestrial, quote unquote, tall whites arrived on Earth, helped Nesquik Germany build a fleet of advanced submarines in the 1930s, and then met in 1954 with President Dwight Eisenhower, quote, where the secret regime currently ruling over America was established, end quote. Continuing. Most disturbingly, the FSB report warns. Most disturbingly, this FSB report warns is that the tall white agenda being implemented by the secret regime ruling the United States calls for the creation of a global electronic surveillance system meant to hide all true information about their presence here on Earth as they enter into one of Snowden's documents called the final phase of their plan for total assimilation in world rule. Well, you could laugh this off, or if we're talking about Satan and his followers, maybe there's a little bit more truth to this than would initially meet the eye. Meanwhile, the U.S. government is embroiled in a cataclysmic power struggle between President Obama, who heads the alien shadow government, and some unknown force that opposed the U.S. alien alliance. Quote, most to be feared by Russian policymakers and authorities, this FSB report concludes, is if those opposing the tall white secret regime ruled over by Obama have themselves aligned with another alien extraterrestrial power themselves. The Fars News Agency is reportedly affiliated with Iran's influential Revolutionary Guards, which suggests that either Iran is either desperate to smear the U.S. in any way it can, or there indeed is a very peculiar view of U.S. politics at the highest level of the Iranian government. So I guess the question that I would ask you, why would they be okay putting this out? It's basically saying that this is essentially like a state-run news agency, right? It's affiliated with the military. So why would they be putting this out? Is there a simple explanation? What kind of benefit would Iran get from that? Why haven't they talked about it since? What did it accomplish? So that's the part you have to kind of wonder. I don't know. Feel free to put it in the comments. Let's move on to the next one. The Jerusalem Post. U.S. run by Nesquik space aliens, Iran claims. And there's one of them right there. Actual photo. In a dramatic scoop, Fars, in all seriousness, reported that revelations of mass NSA surveillance made public by Edward Snowden were actually an effort by the American Nesquik extraterrestrials to hide their nature to a human world they hoped to dominate. Again, it sounds like Satan. The Iranian outlet suggests Snowden offered Russian intelligence officials, quote unquote, incontrovertible proof to support the claims, in that Russia considers the report to be, quote unquote, accurate. Aliens may have arrived in Nevada, a landlocked state, by submarine after losing the Second World War to the West. Well, I've heard about this before, and people are like, it's kind of long to explain, but the supposed submarines were not just submarines; they were essentially craft with the alien technology, but built to look like a submarine, built to be submerged in the water, but it can do more things. So anyway, President Dwight Eisenhower made official the quote unquote tall white government takeover at a secret meeting in 1954. The report conflates tall whites as aliens and Nordic peoples. Okay. So I feel that seems to be a hint, and in the UFO community, if you do that they've come up with like different races of aliens, and these races have been like around for a while in the UFO community. And one of the ones that they'll talk about are the Nordics. And you might just be like, oh, that's just crazy. That's somebody's imagination. But if Satan or one of his followers showed up, what would they look like? We're told that spirit bodies look like physical bodies. They're patterned after the same. They're both. The physical body is patterned after the spiritual body. So if that's the appearance that some of these key followers have, a Nordic appearance, and they're tall, maybe that would explain it. We also have to wonder about, I haven't talked about this in a while, but it's my belief that after this life, we're all going to have our perfect body, in that everyone has like essentially everybody, when it comes down to it, when all the imperfections, all the effects of this world, all the corruptions in DNA or whatever, when they're all taken away, I truly believe that everybody is going to be beautiful. And who knows, maybe we'll be taller. Maybe there's some effect that this world has on us that affects our height. Maybe it affects other aspects of our appearance. I don't know. Right? But we're in a fallen world right now. We could look different when things are said and done. So if you have someone from the pre-existence that never got a body, but is in the form of what their perfect body would look like, Maybe they would be tall. And I'm not talking about, before anyone misconstrues what I'm about to say, I'm talking about just these individuals. If, Satan and a handful of his followers, maybe that's how they look. They look Nordic. Maybe there's others that are other races and other, you know, variations. But maybe the ones that are making contact with the leaders of the world, maybe that's how they appear. Tall and Nordic, potentially. Um, Now we're moving on to this. Now, this is from former Israeli space security chief says aliens exist, humanity not ready. This is also in the Jerusalem Post. Okay, according to retired Israeli officer and current professor Haim Eshed, the answer is yes. But this has been kept a secret because, quote unquote, humanity isn't ready. Now, this could be another group. This could be the people from these other worlds over here that are waiting to make contact with us potentially in the millennium, if that theory holds true. And I'm not at all saying that it does. I'm thinking about a possibility. Could that be what's going on here? Humanity isn't ready. You're not at the millennium yet. Once you guys get to the millennium, whoever remains, then you'll be ready and we'll make contact with you. Speaking in an interview to Yediot Aharonot Eshed, who served as the head of Israel's space program for nearly 30 years and is a three-time recipient of the Israeli Security Award, explained that Israel and the U.S. have both been dealing with aliens for years. The 87-year-old former head of the Defense Ministry's Space Division gave further descriptions about exactly what sort of agreements have been made between the aliens and the U.S., which ostensibly have been made because they wish to research and understand, quote unquote, the fabric of the universe. This cooperation includes a secret underground base on Mars, where there are American and alien representatives. If true, this would coincide with U.S. President Donald Trump's creation of the Space Force as the fifth branch of the U.S. Armed Forces, though it is unclear how long this sort of relationship, if any, has been going on between the U.S. and its reported extraterrestrial allies. But Assad insisted that Trump is aware of them and that he was, quote, on the verge, end quote, of disclosing their existence. However, the Galactic Federation, so again, Galactic Federation, maybe that's just our words, but could it be this group of um, planets that are overseen by other planets, according to Facsimile 2 and what's been revealed about it? I don't know. When you look at it that way, maybe it's not so crazy. Maybe it's like the transition team is currently working with world leaders to transition from between now to the other side of the second coming. However, the Galactic Federation reportedly stopped him from doing so, saying they wished to prevent mass hysteria since they felt humanity needed to, quote, evolve and reach a stage where we will understand what space and spaceships are. Yediot Aharonot reported. So what would that mean? If this is real, what would that mean if, let's say that they were just like the classic aliens, the way that are depicted in, movies and stuff? What space and spaceships are? Isn't that kind of clear? They're implying that we don't understand what space is or spaceships, which is kind of weird because we have spaceships. But maybe this would make a little bit more sense if this is spiritual in nature. So again, when we go to Facsimile 2, it says a bunch of things that are, where is it, that are interesting. So for example, 1 day in Kolob is equal to 1,000 years according to the measurement of this earth, which is called by the Egyptians Ja'oe. That is a concept that is not found in astronomy today. that, they do have this concept of bending time, warping time, things like that, but they don't have this specific concept where another planet uh, would have this measurement of time. Number two, figure number two stands next to Kolob, called by the Egyptians Oliblish, which is the grand governing creation near the celestial or the place where God resides, holding the key of power also. Well, um, if you had this knowledge like we do, then you would understand that the universe, it's not just the way that science depicts it, that it's meaningless, that it came out of nothing, or that it came from the Big Bang. You would understand that there is great organization throughout the universe. And the way that all these worlds work, it's by priesthood power and this order, right? Holding the key of power also pertaining to other planets, as revealed from God to Abraham. That's something that we don't understand right now about space. Figure 5 is called, in Egyptian, Enish Goandash. This is one of the grand governing planets also. And it is said by the Egyptians to be the sun and to borrow its light from Kolob. So this is an interesting statement right here. Is this literal? Is it figurative? Is it talking about borrowing light in the sense of like spiritual light? Is it talking about light in the sense of physical light? I don't know, but it says through the medium of Ka'ai Van Rash, which is the grand key, or in other words, the governing power. So when the quote unquote aliens are telling the Israelis and the US that we're waiting for you to reach the point where you understand what space is, maybe these are some of the things that we don't know yet, but we only have an inkling about in our church. But the medium of Ka'e Van Rash, which is the grand key, or in other words, the governing power, which governs 15 other fixed planets or stars. All right, the medium of Kli Flosis or Ha Kokabim, right? These seem to have to do with what space is and how it works. So what did the aliens say? Okay. However, the Galactic Federation reportedly stopped him from doing so, saying that they wished to prevent mass hysteria since they felt humanity needed to, quote, evolve and reach a stage where we will understand what space and spaceships are. Now, it's not like this is a direct quote from the aliens. This is probably they probably said, if it's according to this theory that I'm proposing, then maybe they told them something to this effect, but this is how they interpreted it. So you can't like be like, oh, well, that's not right because they wouldn't say evolve. You know, that may have been something that was inserted by the person receiving the message, right? Later on, um, this is a shed, right? He says, if I had come up with what I'm saying today 5 years ago, I would have been hospitalized. He added that, quote, today they're already talking differently. I have nothing to lose. I've reached my degrees and awards. I'm respected in universities abroad, where the trend is also changing. So when was this put out? This was December 2020. Interesting year to have this come out. Eshed provided more information in his newest book, The Universe Beyond the Horizon, Conversations with Professor Haim Eshed, along with other details, such as how aliens have prevented nuclear apocalypses and, quote, when we can jump in and visit the Men in Black. The book is available now for NIS 98. Okay, whatever. It's just something to think about. Why would someone like this say this? Is this some kind of like psychological operation? What's its effect? What does it achieve? You know, here this is the guy right here. Okay, Haim Eshed, alternately Romanized as Chaim Eshed, is visiting professor of aeronautics and astronautics at various space technology research institutions. A retired brigadier general in the Israeli military intelligence. This guy's Israeli intelligence, a brigadier general. Eshed was director of space programs for Israel Ministry of Defense for nearly 30 years, is former chair of the Space Committee of the National Council for Research and Development for the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Space, and a member of the Steering Committee of Israel Space Agency. Eshed is responsible for the launch of 20 Israeli-made satellites, and he is widely cited as the father of Israel's space program. This guy is no joke. And look what he just said. In 1967, Eshed was awarded the Chief of Staff citation, the highest non-combat decoration awarded by the IDF. Throughout his career, he also received the Israel Defense Prize, the highest civilian defense honor of the State of Israel, 3 times, but the reason remained classified. Eshed served at the highly secretive Unit 81, which provided technological solutions to the IDF's Military Intelligence Directorate. In 2020, Eshed became notable for promoting a UFO, claiming that the world governments were secretly working with aliens. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. That's really weird. So you have Iran, you have Israel, or at least this one man, talking about this. To what end? For what purpose? Could there be bits of truth that are in this? I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because this is going longer than I thought. I do want to point this out. Okay, 3 witnesses unveiled for UFO hearing next week. The House Oversight Committee's UAP hearing, which is, I think it stands for unmanned or UAP. I think it's aerial phenomena. Okay, stands for not medical. Unidentified aerial phenomenon. So they kept the unidentified. The 3 UAP whistleblowers, Ryan Graves, David Fravor, and David Grush Burchett. This is from the House of Representatives. American public deserves to know we are done with the cover-up. Now I'm going to read a part of what he said in this briefing right here. Representative Burchett and Oversight Committee members on upcoming hearing on UAP. Representative Tim Burchett, Republican, Tennessee, and members of the House Oversight Committee speak with reporters about an upcoming hearing on unidentified aerial phenomenon. So this is on C-SPAN, and they have the transcript right here. This is a little ways down. I had to search for a specific phrase, and I couldn't highlight this, so it starts right here. This might be a little bit choppy, but just hang with me. If it would not scroll back up, thank you very much. Okay, we're gonna have to figure that out. I might have to zoom out. Okay, I think that's your all's job as reporters to find out what the beep is going on with this stuff, because y'all need to start asking tough questions, and you need to start looking at people's financial disclosures as well, because the groups that probably have control of this obviously are well heeled in this. And in your first question was if China or Russia, if Russia owned it, they wouldn't be battling in Ukraine. It'd be over. Putin's ego. It wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened. So, like you just said, if Russia had this technology, Ukraine would be done. It wouldn't, so it's not them. China. They would control us even. I guess I'll have to hold this. Okay. Find my place again. They would control us even. They pretty much do now, even more so. So that goes back to my original premise. It's either something from an extraterrestrial or something uh, that we have in our skunk works, and that we are reverse engineering because with this technology, when you see the Tic Tac videos and listen to the pilots, it defies all of our laws of physics. The human body would not be able to stand the pressure from this thing. It's beyond belief. And some other stuff, and that's why I wish they would release everything that I've seen, because the American people would say, why are you covering this up? I guess you could say, why are they still covering up Kennedy, the Kennedy assassination? That's an interesting thing for him to say at a briefing. Um, I guess you could say, okay, there's nothing there. I mean, it's been over 50 years. Everybody's dead. This is about power. It's about control. It's about money. It's about greed and corruption. And that's what runs this country right now. So he's talking about secret combinations. You know, Kennedy was famous for doing a speech one time. I think it was like at a press banquet, or I don't know, a ball or something like that, um, where he spoke out against secret combinations, and then guess what happened to him? Uh, Seemingly as the result of a secret combination. Okay, and that's a disgrace. So again, I think the overarching question that we're really asking is why are they why are they overclassification this, and why aren't they being transparent? And it's about reasserting, I should say, Congress' role in all of this. I mean, to Tim's point, I mean, the United States Congress passed a law on the JFK assassination. That information under that law is now supposed to be available, and yet president after president violates parties, uh, and yet president after president violates parties of both parties, right? Violates the law and extends the information to this point. Why? And that's really what's happening here. Uh, we're interested in the why. Why are they doing this? Why won't they tell the American people? Yes, it's a national security issue. Of course it is. Right. We can't. We can't. We tell the American people that it isn't. But we can't tell the American people it isn't China. It isn't Russia. Right. And if it is right, then that's even more questionable. Why are they telling the American people that other countries have this technology? Right. And to your point, I want to re-engineer reverse your question, which is, are we okay with the federal government keeping information from the American people because they're trying to prevent us from having anxiety on all sorts of issues? I mean, if they can do it here, what else are they going to give them authority to not tell the American people? People, because they're interested in controlling and keeping us in a bubble. I mean, that's a scary thought that they don't trust us, that the universe is a big place. I mean, everyone learns about that in school, right? The universe is a big place. Our solar system is a big place. We're learning about about solar systems far beyond. And so the idea that the human brain can't tolerate that there might be life somewhere else, I just don't accept that. And at the end of the day, I think the hearing is really about real life accounts from reliable people. And as the technology is getting better, our technology is getting better. We're now capturing these things uh, on our handheld devices. And why is the military and the government not just being honest with us? Why are they over there classifying it? Why aren't they being transparent? Uh, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, you can watch this entire thing. Again, this is on C-SPAN. It has the entire 24-minute thing. According to this, what I'm reading is sometime after the 9-minute and 22-second mark, so you'll have to just like try and go find it. But it's right here. I think that's your all's jobs as reporters to find out what the beep is going on. I was going to go into more but there's not really much to say. I just want to point out, we have these weird things going on in space. There's two signals that they don't know what it is. And of course, they're like, well, maybe it's some kind of pulsar. Maybe it's some kind of, but they don't know. There's this one. A mysterious radio signal from space is repeating every 18 minutes and 18 seconds. I put this on the Second Coming timeline just to not forget about it, and because it kind of stands out, and because it happened in 2018, in the month of January. That's when it started. That's when President Nelson also started as president of the church. And then it went on for 3 months, January, February, March, and then it ended. So I have that represented right here. And now there's this other one. I guess it's not new, but they're reporting about it today. Popular Mechanics. A mysterious light has been blinking in space every 21 minutes for 35 years. Scientists have no idea what it is. So, it says here since 1988, once every 21 minutes. They don't know what it is. It could be some kind of natural phenomena, or maybe we just don't know how space works. I feel like I become more and more skeptical of space as time goes on, as I see more things. But I'm not going to go into the depths of that because that would be an entire different channel. Weird things are happening right now when it comes to space and aliens. What's going on? I don't know. Could be a few different possibilities. Could be a mix of different things. We could be seeing the traces of Satan and his deception. We could be seeing people from other worlds that are coming in anticipation of the second coming, possibly to help transition. It could be angels and coming to world leaders to deliver messages. Go talk with President Nelson. You're going to need to be acquainted with him. You are going to be moving on to the next stage, or the lost tribes. I don't know. But it's just high strangeness, and I can't really pull out any benefit that Iran or Israel or anybody else would get out of saying these things, because it just makes them look crazy. You could look at this guy and be like, well, maybe, he's at the end of his career. Maybe he still wants to stay relevant. That's possible. We've seen it before, haven't we? When there's people that get to the end of their career, they're not like whatever, military personnel, actors, politicians, whatever, and they're still trying to do things afterwards, but the glory days are already gone. Could it just be that? I don't know. I feel like by doing this, it would kind of taint everything that he's done, but hopefully we'll have the answers to these things soon. It'll be interesting to see what's said at this upcoming hearing by the Oversight Committee. Yeah, okay, so that's where we're at. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.